So yeah, I'm Carrie Brian. I am pretty new with New Belgium, just been around for a few months, but I've actually been in the beer industry for 9 years. So right after college, was able to get a job at a distributor. Had no idea what was going on or that I would want to turn it into a career, but it worked. And I actually started out on the domestic side, and I remember the day they told me, you're going to go work on the craft division. And I said, oh, I don't think I really want to do that. And my very first event ever was a Bourbon County Stout 5-year vertical with Greg Hall. And about 10 minutes in, I was like, okay, I love the craft division, I'll stay here. And I was really lucky. Our distributor, this was in Madison, Wisconsin, we sold Goose Island before it had anything to do with Anheuser-Busch. We also sold New Belgium. So those were the two brands that I was able to sell. I didn't realize it then, but my two favorite beers, Sophie and Triple, now I know that that means I really love Belgian beer. At the time, I was just like, hey, these beers are awesome. Everyone drink them. And I got my girlfriends to drink them, and, we're all 22, and we were drinking really, high alcohol beers, actually, looking back on it. Triple was pretty risky, but we had a great time. And so I had a great time at the wholesaler, and I thought, I'd really rather work for a brewery. All those people at breweries, they always look like they're having so much fun. They're brewing great beer. They're just selling great beer. I want to do that. And actually, this was back in 2010. So Goose Island had just been acquired around this time. It was like 2010, 2011-ish. And I think it was around there. Anyway, it wasn't a good time to get on board with them. They were going through some stuff. And then New Belgium was pretty new in Wisconsin, so there wasn't a job over there. So I quit, and I moved to Asia, and I traveled around Southeast Asia and taught English, and drank some great beer and not so great beer over there as well. Ran out of money, so moved to Italy, and I worked at a nightclub for 6 months. So still put my industry knowledge to good use over there. But again, ran out of money, so I came back to St. Louis. But it turned out that was when all the breweries were opening. Awesome, right? So I called up some old friends, John Shine from Urban Chestnut, and said, hey, can I work for you? And he's like, everyone will think this is funny. This was so long ago. Urban Chestnut had 3 employees, Florian, Dave, and John. And they said, we don't have any money to give anybody else a job. And but why don't you call Perennial? They've got ties to Goose, and I think they might have something. So I met up with Phil and Emily Wymore and started with them. I was employee number 2 as a bartender. Corey King had just started brewing with them. I'm pretty sure at the time he wasn't really getting paid. I was getting tips, which I know now when you go to Perennial, you're like, it's so busy. But back then we were like, anyone, come in. I know we're far away. It's worth the trip to South City. And at Perennial, we had 2 beers on draft when we opened, and so that was a lot of fun. I started out bartending. I became their sales rep. I ended up doing their national sales and covering 12 states, selling beer all over the country. But then I decided I kind of wanted to take a break from traveling and come back to St. Louis. So was very welcomed into the New Belgium family. I love these guys. Honestly, New Belgium, everything that they stand for, I stand for. So now I can say we stand for, which is awesome. Just been a couple months with them. We're going to drink through some great beers, but I know a lot of you guys have had New Belgium before, but just a little brief background of the brewery. Actually, this year is our 25th anniversary, so you're going to be seeing all sorts of really cool stuff coming out. He did start brewing before 1991, but 1991 was when he got his papers and he was allowed to sell commercially to his first account. So we did not bring out Fat Tire for you. I know you guys have probably all had it. But of course, when he went over to Belgium, he rode his bike around and he brought his mountain bike. And everyone said, what's with that Fat Tire bike you have? Which is where that name comes from. And so we started brewing that in Abbey, and those are some of our first beers that we ever sold. We have moved away from the Belgian beers a little bit. As you can see, we've got a couple different ones on the board. Our styles range all over the place now. We've got hoppy stuff. We've got barley wines. You guys are probably all familiar with our sours, with the Lips of Faith program, our collaborations. all great stuff. We know people like you are always looking for the new thing, as well as for great examples of just like a simple style, like an American IPA. Who can make that balanced and delicious? You guys probably do know this, but we are building a second brewery. It's going to be in Asheville, North Carolina. So we've been in Fort Collins for 25 years, and our second brewery will be opening to the public in August. You are welcome to come and hang out with us. We're going to throw a huge, huge party, and then tours will start out there. But we do run 11 tours a day out at the Fort Collins Brewery. Please come and visit us. We often win Best Brewery Tour in the country. It's really fun. You've been on it? You've been, yes. It ends with a slide. So you can't beat that, right? We also have a rock wall. Oh, on your honeymoon. Well played, girl. That's nice. And you get a lot of beer on the tour, which is awesome. So yeah, if you're ever in Fort Collins, please come visit us. And if you're in Asheville starting in August, please come visit us. The beer that you'll be getting in St. Louis is still going to be coming from the Fort Collins Brewery. The Asheville Brewery is really going to support our expansion into the East Coast. So we'll probably be close to all 50 states within the next couple years. But you may or may not know this, that Missouri was one of the original New Belgium states. So geographically, it makes sense if you look at it on a map. But St. Louis was an early supporter of New Belgium, and we are so thankful for you guys to just keep drinking and enjoying beer with us. Oh, I thought someone had a question. No worries. Oh, is this for me? Awesome. All right. So everyone should have a beer. Our first one we're going to talk about is Side Trip. This is not out on draft anywhere. It's going to start coming out in the grocery stores probably around this week. You might start seeing it, but look for it on draft in maybe a week or so. Wanted to bring it to you guys first. So this is going to be a Belgian pale ale, and the backstory of this one is really fun. You may or may not know this, but on a New Belgium employee's 5th anniversary, they take us to Belgium. So everyone who was hired in I was hired in 2015. So in 2020, everyone who was hired that year, they're going to take us all to Belgium, and we get to go visit all the breweries that inspired Jeff Liebich. They take us around, and we get to see kind of where it all started, which is really exciting. I've never been to Belgium, so I'm really excited for it. But last year, Peter Buchart, who is our brew master, was on the trip with the employees, and he thought, I love that we have all these Belgian beers, but this one, he had a sip of one, and he was like, let's make one that's got all Belgian ingredients. So we still have to call it a Belgian style pale ale because we're not in Belgium, but every ingredient that is in this beer, hops, malt, the water comes from Fort Collins, so maybe not every ingredient, but, and the yeast are all from Belgium. They actually, the brewery, I always butcher the name. I'm so sorry, my Flemish isn't good. But Brewery Van de Bosch actually graciously allowed us to borrow their yeast strain. So we were able, Lauren Salazar went over there herself, collected it like a little sample, and took it back like it was like an organ or something. It's just so funny. I think she just wanted to go to Belgium. But they sent her all the way over there just to get the yeast and bring it back to make sure that it was the sample that we wanted. And so, yeah, let's drink a little bit. I know everybody else is already, and I was jealous. I'm just trying to, the story behind this is what makes this beer so fun. Honestly, if you guys have ever had Orval or perhaps Aria from Perennial Artisan Ales, these are similar styles of beer. Obviously, again, we have to call it Belgian style. But I think you're going to get a lot of that Belgian yeast in this one. It's really going to stand out. Abbey and Triple are two of our Belgians. We don't put those on draft very often, so you don't really get to have these sorts of beers from us unless you go out to the grocery store and pick them up. So definitely look for this when Chad brings it in on draft. Are there any tasting notes? What are you getting from the aroma? Anyone? So pretty standard for Belgian. And that's all the yeast, which I mean, you guys know all this stuff, but the Belgian yeast strain is one of the most specific aromas I think you can get. German strains are pretty specific, I would say, as well. This one's really low. I believe it's 14. Oh, I'm sorry, it's 22. Next one's 14. So 22. So you're not going to get a lot of bitterness. This one is all about the yeast. We want this one to be as Belgian as possible. It just has a few hops in it. It's got Belgian Magnum, Sapphire, and Target hops. So nothing that's going to compete really with the Belgian yeast on this one. Only 5.5%, so it's really sessionable, which again goes back to how they drink over in Europe. A couple of them at a time. They were and they're all from Belgium. So we've got the Magnum, Sapphire, and Target. And all of those give a little bit of some spicy notes, which is exactly what you picked up. I like the pumpkin pie spice. That was good. Anything else specifically to Side Trip? This is just a seasonal, so this will only be out for, I think it'll switch over in about like mid to end of February. So this is just a little out there just for a little bit. That's exactly why we try it, because they take us, well, Peter and Lauren and Kim get to go every single year, but for us, we get to go every 5. Every 5 years is when you get your trip. It's really pretty fun because at 5 years, you get your trip to Belgium. At 10 years, you get a month-long sabbatical. And that's 10 years. And at 20 years, people are hitting 20 years now, so they said, how about another sabbatical? And all of those people said, okay. And then they get 4 weeks, and then those guys at 20 have a few of them have tacked on their vacation. So I know a few of them were gone for about 6 to 8. And they said it was pretty tough to come back. Yeah, exactly. Some of our earliest employees have had a lot of fun, and it's really exciting to see New Belgium give back to employees the way they do, and allowing us that freedom to go. And they mean it. They say, turn your phone off, and we'll take care of it. And the other exciting thing about that is they have to train people to take care of people's jobs when you're gone. So it allows people to kind of be trained. So there's a lot of movement within the company, and it's encouraged. So that's really exciting. I think I'll stay on the sales side, but there's a lot of people. I mean, some people move from brewing to packaging to working in our taste. It's called the LC. So. Absolutely. There's a lot of people. We call it the Liquid Center. That's our tasting room in Fort Collins. And a lot of people got their start there. My division director, Bubba Speed, that's his real name. He started at just slinging beer across the bar, and now he's running, a third of the country, which is just really cool to see how New Belgium encourages everybody to grow. We are 100% employee-owned, which some of you may or may not know. So if you have heard any rumors about somebody purchasing New Belgium, 700 employees are going to have to vote on that, on if we want to pick up on that deal. So, yes. So, rumors are rumors. They're not true. No one is buying us. But again, if anybody did want to buy us, we would all have to vote on it. A few years ago, I was not with New Belgium at the time, but there was an opportunity for us to invest in some more wind energy, but that would mean having to give up our bonuses. And the employees all voted unanimously. There were about 600 or 550 at the time. Unanimously, everyone gave up their bonuses that year, wanting to invest into the wind energy to be more environmentally sound. All right. So we should all be on the Ben & Jerry's. This is a really long one. It's a mouthful. Salted caramel brownie brown ale. There is also an ice cream with the same name. Because, yes, we did get with Ben & Jerry's. They came to the brewery to brew, and our brewers went over there and played and made ice cream, I guess. And So the backstory of Ben & Jerry's is really cool. So while you're drinking this, I'll let you know. So Ben & Jerry's and New Belgium are both B Corp companies. So basically what that means is we are incredibly into environment and sustainability. And we try to make all of our decisions with that in mind. So something like I said with the wind power. We would rather put our money into the future of that than use coal. We recycle actually 90% of all of the waste is either recycled or reused at the brewery in Fort Collins, which is really time consuming. Whenever you try to go and throw something away, there's like 8 places to put it. But we use everything as much as possible over and over and over again. Ben & Jerry's is a like-minded company. Yes? We brew in a lot of cans. We've got in this market you only see the Shift, the Ranger, the Folly Packs, and the Fat Tire. In other markets, especially in Colorado, you see a lot more. Like you'll see Sunshine, you'll see Snapshot. Almost every beer is canned out there. We just don't carry them all in here in Missouri. But cans are great, and I love that people want to drink out of cans now too. A few years ago, the technology has just gotten so that that's almost the best thing for the beer. It protects it from the light. You're not going to get the oxidation issues that you used to get. But anyway, so Ben & Jerry's and New Belgium got together, and we said, let's do something for the environment. So all the proceeds from this beer and proceeds from the sale of their ice cream go to a nonprofit called Protect Our Winters. And Protect Our Winters is pretty cool. It was started by some former Olympians, winter athletes, so skiers, snowboarders, people who depend on the winter. And, we're in Colorado, so we love the snow. And we said, let's give our money to those guys. And what they do is they combat climate change. So they're always doing stuff in D.C. trying to help with bills and just working really, really hard on, combating basically, global warming or whatever. What are we calling it now? Just climate change? Climate change is our PC, what we're doing now. So, yeah. So if you drink beer and you're drinking for a good cause. You drink for charity. It's always good to drink for charity, right? So this one's really fun. This one is this one's the one that's 14 IBU. So you're not going to get very much bitterness at all. Just a little over 6%. It's 6.3. And this one, we did put a lot of sugar in here. There's a lot of malted sugar. And that's where you're going to get those caramel notes. I often get a little bit of dried cherry. I don't know if anybody else did. A little bit of that with the vanilla on there as well. Any other tasting notes? Is this beer what you expected? Not what you expected? Anyone? Yes. I totally agree. I like to tell people this is the brown ale. It's a jazzy brown ale. So my favorite brown ale ever is the Civil Life's brown ale. I think that brown ale is just phenomenal. And I think a lot of people thought that this was going to be really sweet, almost going towards imperial stout sweet and just syrupy. And this isn't. We wanted it to be sessionable. We wanted people to be able to bring a 6-pack to a party and everyone to enjoy it and not just share one bottle. So that I agree. And a lot of people are very surprised with that. Yeah, definitely. And there's a lot of, I'm glad you said that because some people are, it's funny because, when I was with Perennial, you guys may or may not have heard of Fantastic Voyage, the coconut milk stout. And some people would be like, there's no coconut in here. And other people would be like, there's too much coconut. So your palates are really subjective to, to flavors. So in this one, I'll be doing sampling and start talking to a group of people. And some people in the room will be like, this is so sweet, I can't drink it. And other people will say, this is incredibly sessionable, and I really enjoy it. And I think it's more drinkable than I thought. So it's just interesting to see kind of what people enjoy about it. No, there's not a lot by any means, but there is some. Yeah, I think it also adds a little bit to the astringency, so to make it so it does give a little bit of a dry finish. Oh yeah, they're 17. Yeah, it's just interesting to see what people pick up. Definitely. I was gonna say because Chad's got it. And no worries. There's something for everyone. Well, thank you. Well, thank you. Um, I was gonna say he's got one of the last kegs in St. Louis. He saved it just for you guys, honestly, for this event. Um, so you can find some 6-packs out in the market here and there, but he's really your man for drinking more of this beer. It came out in November. Yep. Yeah, there wasn't too much of it. We got it limited amounts just everywhere. We also got the ice cream. So if you are a Ben and Jerry's fanatic, they actually had it. At least they did last week up the street at the Ben and Jerry's store. I think it's kind of closer to Tivoli, I want to say. But you can also find it in most places that have a pretty large freezer door. You'll know this one because it's got a red top with our logo with the bicycles on it, and versus the regular black one. So if you buy that ice cream, you're also eating ice cream for charity. And I know that everyone likes that. This is a special release, so we may not even do it next year. We've been talking about teaming up with maybe a different B Corp and kind of making that something else that we look for. But it was a lot of fun from what I hear from the guys who got to hang out with the Ben and Jerry's people. Definitely, definitely. They're a very cool company. Are there any questions about New Belgium's kind of environmental program or anything? Or any question you got? I know, that was so fun. Did you go to it? Yeah. Clips of Faith? Yes. Well, we had the Sour Symposium last week. That was what we got this year. Yep. So that was the event that we got this year. We can chat after, and you can send me an email saying that, and I will forward it up the chain. Because I would love to have those events back. Unfortunately, I know Clips of Faith was not incredibly well attended. Urban Assault Ride did awesome though. Um, the other thing is like we've been so awesome supporting, like biking in St. Louis that they're kind of moving on to cities that hate bikers. So we're working on some other cool stuff, though. We'll chat. Thank you. All right. All right. So this is the one that you guys may have had. This is the Ranger. Ranger is... Oh, I thought I put him up. I guess I didn't. Sorry. Sorry, Ranger. So Ranger is actually named for people like me. My job is called a Beer Ranger. This is an American IPA. This is going to be 6.5%. This is 70 IBUs. So now we're finally hitting that hops that maybe some of you were looking for. If you just smell it, it just smells like hops. So this is really fun. This came out in 2010. Basically, all the beer reps, the Rangers, had been asking, can we please have an IPA? We're in Colorado. Make us an IPA. And Peter Buchart had kept saying, no, we'll do more Belgian beer. I can't do his accent. And they finally said, okay, we'll make you an IPA. And this is the one that they made us, and they've never changed the recipe in the brew house. So I hope you guys like this one. This has been around, I guess, now this will be its 6th year. And it is consistently in the top 5 American IPAs, according to Nielsen data, in the country. It sells incredibly well. And it's unapologetically bitter. I do think the malt in it does balance out the hops nicely, but it's supposed to be a bitter beer. That's what it's supposed to do. If it's not bitter enough for you, we can chat. We've got another level up that's called Rampant. But for your everyday American IPA drinkers, this is yours. For those of you really interested in the hops, I wanted to make sure I didn't miss one. Yep. So this one's got Chinook, Simcoe, and Cascade. But then most importantly, it's dry hopped again with Cascade. So for those of you who are familiar with dry hopping, just be patient while I explain it. I feel like this is something that people get a little bit weird about asking, and it's the easiest process we've got. At the end of the brew, we throw a little bit extra in, and that's what you get on the aroma. So the aroma hops are really what come from the dry hops. Your bittering hops are really what goes into the boil. So when we name usually it's 3 to 5 or something. Sometimes you'll see single hop beers, and those are cool too. But most of that aroma is coming from the dry hop. Any thoughts? Do we have anybody who's got a good description for the aroma? I love that you said orange peel because in Cascades are known for their citrus notes. You're very, very descriptive. I like this. It's all you. Oh, you've been teaching so well. Anyone at the bar? Any thoughts? Yes. That's also from the Cascade. Pine and citrus are really what most people are going to get from that. I like to think if there's any of you out there who say I can't smell or taste any pine. Honestly, think about if you've been in a forest like out in Oregon or out on the West Coast, and that's what that smell is to me. It's not really. I get the question a lot: is it like Christmas tree? And it's not quite that. It's more like pine forest than Christmas tree. A good mouthfeel. Like creamsicle. No one's told me that, but I like that. So fun if you guys have anything left in here, but I'm going to teach you a fun tasting trick. And you can use it for any beer, not just New Belgium's. And it's called retronasal. You may or may not have heard somebody talk about this before. Lauren Salazar, who is amazing. She was just she's excuse me, she's one of our wood beer specialists. She was also invented our sensory program at New Belgium, which she started doing it so long ago that everyone kind of calls it her program. And so the retronasal is actually really interesting. So aroma is actually 80% of what we think of as flavor. So what you smell is the majority of those. When we put descriptors, when we say orange, when we say pine, that is what our brain tells. A lot of us think of as flavor, and that's really aroma. Flavor is strictly bitter, salt, sweet. When you can put words to it, that's really the aroma. So retronasal is going to be, and I was telling my distributor reps the other day, I was like, no one's too cool for retronasal. We're all going to do it, and we're all going to look awesome. So you're gonna do a little sniff. I'm gonna tell you what it is because obviously I won't be able to talk while I do it. You're gonna take a sip, and you're not gonna open your mouth. You're gonna let it warm up. You're holding your breath for this. It's like a split second. Don't worry. And then you're gonna swallow and then breathe out your nose. So everyone, all together, we're gonna do it. Warm it up in your mouth for a second, swallow, and then breathe back out your nose. No one's too cool for retronasal back there. Did anyone get a more intense flavor? Or not flavor, but like a little bit more intense aroma, honestly, because that's where you're getting it. It's coming out. It's your nose. Anyone? No? Yes? Yes. I like people. Woo. Awesome. You get more caramel on that, and that's the malt on that. That's where that comes from. Well, I don't think you say you have no nose, but considering the majority of your descriptors come from aroma, I think you're better at it than you think. Oh, 2? Who doesn't like it? I just want to. Are you IPA fans usually, and this one specifically? No, or I was gonna say because IPA is honestly, it's kind of like sour beers. Like people, I don't want to say you develop your palate into it, but it's like learning to like coffee or learning to like sours or learning to like, it's just a different flavor. I'm not a crazy hophead. I prefer more yeast forward beers than hop forward beers. So something like Side Trip for me is what I go bonkers for. There's some crazy breweries here in St. Louis, like if anyone's been a Side Project, they do crazy stuff with yeast. But the hops can give a lot of different flavors, which is what we're going to pick out. We did in Ranger, now we're going to do in Citradelic. And that's what's pretty interesting to me. Thank you. All right, this one is brand spanking new. This is called Citradelic. And this one, literally, we launched it on Monday. So you guys, this is the first place we're putting it on draft. Again, just for you guys here at Beer School. Want to make sure you are first. So it is a tangerine IPA. Oh, except, well, it's totally gone. But now there's more. Yeah, without telling anyone out, without putting it on Twitter, nope. So it was really fun. This is a tangerine IPA. For anyone who smelled it, you might have already picked up on that. Tangerine IPA, it is made with, it's actually tangerine infused orange peel and then also orange oil. So those are essential oils. So a lot of home brewers might recognize brewing with essential oils. But it's done at the same time that we do the dry hop at the very end. So that's why you're going to get a lot more of that aroma because it's at the very end once you've cooled it down. It's just like cooking. When you if you put in a spice at the very beginning, you're not really going to have it like you would if you put it in right at the end. Same thing. So tangerine oil on the orange peels that go into, yeah. So actually the original, so the fun thing about this, there's a lot of hops in here, and I'm going to read them all off, and we might do something about it. It literally just came out, so I didn't feel like I could test my own memory. Okay, in the brew house, so in the boil, we've got the Nugget, Crystal, Centennial, and a new one for me, the Azaka, Azzaca. And that hop is gives a lot of the mango and grapefruit and orange already. But then in the dry hop, we do Cascade, Citra, Chinook, then the fun ones, Galaxy, Simcoe, and Mandarina Bavaria. But you guys does anybody have a good guess on what Mandarina Bavaria, what kind of notes that gives off? Orange, yeah. Think Mandarina, yeah. And then, of course, Galaxy, we've probably had a few. I think Schlafly did a fun, that's what they do the Tasmanian IPA, I think, with. So you guys have had the Galaxy hop before. And so those hops come from the Southern Hemisphere, from Australia area down there. And they just give off some really fun citrus stuff. And so we brewed it with that, gave it to our distributor, said, here's new Citradelic. And they said, it's not citrus enough. And we said, okay. So we put in some more hops. They said, not citrus enough. And we said, all right. So then we put in the tangerine-infused orange peel and the orange oils. And they were like, now it's citrus enough. So that you are seeing a lot more grapefruit IPA, a lot more fruited IPAs in general. I'm really excited that we decided to do a tangerine one instead of another grapefruit. There's some really great ones available in our market as well. But this is, the IPA category is the fastest growing category in the country, and it's diversifying. So we've got the American IPA, we've got the Imperial or Double IPA, we've got the Session IPAs, and now we're getting into fruit IPAs. So people are just going for it. Yes. Yes. Yeah, this one is. It is pasteurized. We pasteurize all our beers. We flash pasteurize it so it happens almost instantaneous. Yep. This one is, I want to say this one's only 50. I was going to say 60, 50. So the people, I wanted to know, the people who said they didn't love the Ranger, do we feel like we like this one at all? Yeah? Yeah? Anyone else? I'm ready. Yeah, that's a really good point. I imagine that's some of it. The double IPAs are so bitter, and the session IPAs are so light. There's kind of something for everyone. So why not throw some fruit in there and bring those last remaining non-IPA drinkers over to our side? Any other questions specific to Citradelic? This one's going to be available all year, all day, every day, not a seasonal. Yeah. Uh-huh. Simcoe in Mandarina, Bavaria. But Simcoe, which you'll see in other beers. That's a pretty common one. That one is not the super common one. Ooh. I think one Chad already knows. Wink, wink. Well, I'm glad you guys liked that one. I just couldn't believe the response that we had here at Cicero's on Friday night, especially since I was in the middle of ordering mine when it blew, and I was like, oh. But I had another New Belgium beer, and it was all delicious, so it was fine. But it was definitely, it was a lot of fun. I'm glad you guys got to try it. I think it'll be really good for people learning about beer, people who already are enthusiastic about IPAs. I think everyone can find something they like in it. Any other questions about New Belgium while we're rolling this through? Pouring some more? Yeah? Oh, no. That was a stroking the beard. I thought it was a question. No worries. So, yeah, I think we're mostly known for, being environmentally conscious and being 100% employee-owned. I really wish I could have been at the meeting when they decided that we were going to be 100% employee-owned. So that was about 3 years ago. Before then, it was mostly employee-owned. But apparently, this sounds really intense, but apparently they used to vote people in with, thumbs up, thumbs down, like the Romans decided your fate. So you have to, they would come in and present, this is why I deserve to be an employee owner, and then all the employee owners would talk. And they voted people down, I guess, sometimes. And that was really, I feel like that would be very stressful. But about 3 years ago, Kim Jordan, who just recently stepped down as our CEO, she's one of our co-founders. She invited everybody into Fort Collins. Everybody dropped what they were doing. It was 2 days' notice. Rangers flew in from all over the country. Thank you. She brought everyone into an auditorium, gave them all an envelope, said, don't open it. Everyone sat down. She got on stage. Everybody's freaking out, super freaking out. And she says, in the envelope, once you open it, you'll see who I sold the brewery to. And people are, totally losing their minds. They open the envelope, and in each envelope was a mirror. Get it? I get goosebumps every time I talk about it. And it was you. She sold all of her shares to all of the employees. And so at 1 year, you get to be a fully vested employee owner. And they don't vote you yes or no anymore, but you do have to stand up and make a speech about what employee ownership means to you. So I think that's a really cool thing. Yep. Oh, our Airstream. I'll tell you in 2 seconds. Everyone's got a beer. I love that you know that. Great. All right, so this is our Blackberry Barleywine. This one's a big boozy one. This guy is 10% alcohol, 50 IBUs, and it's higher with the IBUs because it needs to stand up to all the malt that's in that. You got it, blackberry in this beer. Didn't see that coming, did you? This is from our Lips of Faith series. So the Lips of Faith are kind of our fun, more adventurous, more advanced for your palate beers. They're kind of all over the place in style. This is the first barley wine that we've made. Lawfully is the Lips of Faith beer. Excuse me. The perennial collaboration that we did, that salted Belgian chocolate stout, that was the Lips of Faith beer. So those are the ones that are a little bit more intriguing, I would say. So while you guys drink this, I'll tell you about the Airstream. So a long time ago, Lauren actually just told me some funny stories about it. So I'm glad you got this question for me. They got this Airstream, and they were thinking to themselves, I mean, this was a long time ago, what if we like pimp this out and we could pour beer in here and just like travel around the country and like throw parties in an Airstream? Wouldn't that be cool? And everyone was like, yeah, that would be cool because that would be awesome. So they did it. They rehabbed this Airstream and they started taking it around the country. They had people driving it, throwing parties. That's illegal. You cannot stop on the side of the road and literally throw up like a pop-up party, like a kegger, like on the side of the road in your trailer. Like, that's not cool. We found out, so we no longer do pop-up Airstream trailer parties. So that original one does live at the brewery, which you can come and visit in Fort Collins. But it does get a few outings every year at anybody know it? What's our big traveling kind of carny road show? Tour de Fat. Yes, absolutely. Tour de Fat is really an incredible event that we put on. I'm really looking forward to going to the one in Chicago this year. That is the closest one to St. Louis, if anybody. It was great. Oh, I'm so jealous. Everybody send me an email and I'll forward it up the chain. I mean, so cool, right? If you guys know the beer Slow Ride, that was named after one of the games that we play at Tour de Fat, where everyone gets on their bike and rides as slow as possible, and the last person to the finish line who doesn't touch their feet to the ground wins. That's really hard if you've ever tried. So just a lot of, the point of Tour de Fat is to bring people, to bring people's thought processes to being environmentally friendly and riding your bike. We live in St. Louis where we are fairly bike friendly. We could be more, but I mean, we also could be a lot less. And we do have some bike lanes. You don't hear about people being like run over left and right like you do in some other cities, which is really unfortunate. At Tour de Fat, all the money goes to local like bike shops, local that are doing things with the community. So all the money does go back to like those nonprofits and stuff. So it's pretty kick-ass. We did over $1 million in donations last year.